Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Eleonora Palmaro. I'm the product manager for Funding Institutional, and I'm here to present with Thomas Gurney, who is product manager for Pure. I'm sure you have seen him today. It's quite funny for me to present with Thomas because we have already worked together in two different roles. So when I was a data scientist within Elsevier, and Thomas was also data scientist in Elsevier. So now here we are wearing different hats, and we are very happy to introduce this integration between Funding Institutional and Pure. Yesterday, when I flew here, I didn't book my flight through the website of the airline, but I went to a search engine because I wanted to find the best option, saving time, saving effort, and saving money. Today, I would like to offer you a solution which helps you to find funding in saving time. Because as the American writer and scientist said, Isaac Asimov, every hour a scientist spends trying to raise funds is an hour lost from important thought and research. Success rates is going down, and if we look at the data of the first 3 years of the Horizon 2020, the success rate is 12.6%, which is well below the overall success rate of the previous framework of the European Commission, which was 18.4%. So obtaining funding is getting harder and harder, and in some disciplines, 4 out of 5 applications are discarded, which means that for researchers, a lot of time is wasted on writing grant proposals that fail where it should be spent on doing research and teaching students. And on the other hand, for funder, a lot of time and money is wasted on evaluating and rejected proposal where it should be spent on funding and advancing science. If we look at success rate by each of the countries in the E28, we see that there is a strong drop in success rates in 2015 due to a high number of applications. Success rates overall were particularly high for Belgium, France, and the Netherlands, and particularly low for Hungary, Slovenia, and Bulgaria. So success rates are going down, competition is going high, research administrators wear a lot of hats. Actually, I started my career in a research office, so I know it very well. So if we look at the full life cycle of funding, which goes from funding insight to funding report, going through funding discovery, funding decision, and funding application management, today we want to optimize the funding discovery part. Data is really important, and it's relevant to cover the full value chain of funding data, starting from opportunities going to awards. Opportunities to secure funds, and awards to have an understanding of the funding landscape. So Funding Institutional covers more than 15,000 of active opportunities for more than 4,000 funders. You have both internal opportunities and external opportunities, and it covers 3 million of awards. And also you have detailed profiles associated to funders. Thomas in the morning already showed the 5 C associated to data. Also about funding data, we have the 5 C's. So the data is complete. It's complete because we associate subject categories defined through NLP technologies. We associate in the context of the awards profile from Scopus, both from authors and affiliations, and these links are really fundamental if you want to connect the bibliometrics with the funding word in the context of the assessment. And also we use a conversion to US dollars. The data in also it's correct, so there are always controls implemented, both automated and manual. It's interconnected. In the next year, we will work with the funders to get data directly from the funders. It's current, so constantly updated, and it's compliant to the quality standard of Elsevier. So you will have the same data with the same format across different funders in different regions. Data also has to be global because we don't want to promote a search which is local. So last year we mainly focused on English-speaking markets, and in this year, although of course we kept adding new content from these English-speaking markets, we focus mainly on non-Western and non-English-speaking markets. There is also a variety of funder types, from governmental, foundations, academic institutions, corporate, and so on. So now that the data meets the quality criteria, we can start with the funding discovery. So in funding institutional, we have 3 main flows to search for funds. One of them is the advanced search, so you can type your keyword or key phrase. For example, in this case, you want to search for opportunities in artificial intelligence, and then you can combine other keywords or key phrases through logic operators. You can use the filters to narrow down your research and to understand, for example, which funders have been published what. If you're curious to know which was the main keyword search in the opportunities context, as you can see from the word cloud, was cancer. The second way to discover opportunities is through internal opportunities. So we said that it's very important to save time, and you save time if you have in one unique solution both internal and external opportunities. You can recognize internal opportunities through the icons in the search results, or you can directly filter on internal opportunities. Of course, if the internal opportunities are in the system, it's because you actively enter this data. So you can enter the data for internal opportunities, adding different type of information, such as the title, the ID, the funding type, description, eligibility criteria, subject areas, and you can even upload up to 10 files. If you are also an admin and an editor within the system, you can change the status, so you can make it active or inactive, you can delete it, or you can edit. So we have seen the advanced search, we have seen the internal opportunities, but we know a lot of very popular solutions like Netflix or YouTube keep suggesting to us the content which can be irrelevant to us. So in the same way, we want to recommend opportunities which are relevant to you based on your scientific profile in Scopus. So based on your profiles, we are looking at finding the best recommendations based on 3 criteria: content, location, and seniority. Content, because of course we don't want to promote research which is out of the scope of the researcher, so we look at the title and the description of the opportunities, and on the other hand we look at the title, abstract, and subject areas of the publications. And then we look at the location, because based on our discovery, researchers tend to apply mainly for local funders, so we look at the country of the funder, we look at the affiliation of the researcher, and we combine this information. And last but not least, opportunities have eligibility criteria, and researchers have different level of career. So in the eligibility criteria, you can understand if a senior or a young researcher can apply for that particular opportunity. So we combine the eligibility criteria and the opportunity with the citation count, H-index, and publication count of the author in Scopus. Now it's coming the best part, the core part of the presentation. So when you have defined your discovery and you know which are the relevant opportunities for you and for your research, you can, if you are an admin and a customer of Pure, send these relevant opportunities to Pure. So in any of the discovery flows, which I have already described, or any time that you have a list of opportunities within funding institution, you have a call to action which is sent to Pure. And then you can categorize with some labels, so you can use either an existing label, which is already in the system created from other users within your institution, or you can create your own label, and then you have the category. So we have within Find Institutional also the way to see overview the labels, so you can manage them, editing the title, deleting the label, or simply looking at the opportunities connected to that label and then unlabel a particular opportunity. Now it's time to understand what's going to happen in Pure, so I'll leave the stage to Thomas. Thank you.
Okay, I'll quickly let you in on a little bit of a secret. So not only is Eleonora working funding institutional, but Eleonora is one of the principal data scientists for the Times Higher rankings. So if you want to know anything about Times Higher rankings, Eleonora is the person to speak to. Okay, so once we've got into Pure, the new roles that are required for being able to manage the import of funding opportunities from funding institutional, but also other services that you might need, that's the administrator and editor of opportunities. So these are typically the people that would set up an account at Funding Institutional, and they will get access to the editor tab in Funding Institutional, and these are the people that will be sharing back to Pure. So once the funding opportunities that they've identified in funding institutional using the powerful engine there, when they come into Pure, the point, their responsibilities and I suppose the benefit of these new roles is that they are able to, for example, share amongst all users within Pure on an individual or bulk level, but also to target an organization. And that organization can then share the opportunity further. They'll also be the ones who manage the deadlines related to the opportunities, so the letter of intent deadlines, submission deadlines, and how to handle limited submissions. And of course the labels, as Eleonora mentioned earlier, those labels from a funding institution will be brought in with the opportunity, but they'll be able to create, let's call them operational labels. So these will be visible only to the editor and administrators, so they can use it as a flexible ad hoc classification system. And the notifications that go out to all the different users with who they want to share the opportunities with. And of course, ultimately, you want to be able to track what happens to these opportunities once they come into Pure. So we've, of course, enabled now the ability of users to reject or say, I'm not interested in this type of opportunity. But the editors and administrators can actually track, so they can also learn from the process. Like maybe last time I shared this type of opportunity with this user, they didn't really want it, so I'll find another user or I'll find another organization that finds it more relevant. And of course, for all the users in Pure, we need to make these opportunities discoverable. So the opportunities need to find an audience. There needs to be somebody to take up that opportunity. So for personal users, we want them to we want them to be able to see all opportunities. There is a visibility setting on the opportunities, so you can set it to confidential if you choose. So based on the normal permission model that you know and love. It'll of course also be part of the PUCs project and award section. So any opportunities that personal users have had shared with them or even linked to projects or applications or awards in the end, they'll see it in their project module. The deadlines for opportunities, as Eleonora mentioned, that half the time that could be spent on research is spent on finding opportunities, and then if you miss that deadline, all that time is wasted anyway. So we have made the deadline configurations, but also the warnings and filters that go with these deadlines highly customizable, but also ultimately more valuable for the user to make sure that they get those applications in on time. And the labels. So as I mentioned previously, the admin and editor, you have the admin and editor level only labels. So we're trying to help you classify them a bit more in a flexible manner. And the labels that you bring in with the opportunity from funding institutional are synced. So if any changes happen on funding institutional, they'll also be synced to the opportunities in Pure. And of course, the free text labels that you create on the opportunity in Pure stay on that opportunity in Pure. So just to sort of wrap things up a little bit here, of course, all good things need to come to an end, so funding discovery will be phased out in February 2020. So we previously had it as October 2019, but we've now extended it because we wanted to make sure that the value proposition, but also the utility of funding institutional and the merging with Pure works perfectly. And more importantly, the funding opportunities will be available as part of the core offering. So there's a limited sense of the opportunities in the core offering now, and the bulk of the value was in the award management module. So all of that funding opportunity, so the tracking, the sharing, all of that is now part of the core offering. So you don't necessarily need the award management module to get all these benefits. So we're trying to make it more open to more greater diversity of customers. So I think, I don't know, Morten, how much time do we have left? Because that's the end of our presentation.
5 minutes. Any questions or comments, please?
Yes.
Will the not used opportunities be deleted or cleaned or?
No. So we keep, this was actually
in Pure, I mean.
Yeah, in Pure. So we don't want to delete anything because a lot of the sort of the trends and patterns that you see in opportunities coming from different funders, we want you to be able to still see that. So does NIH release a certain type of opportunity at this time of year? So trying to identify patterns in opportunities, but also just to learn from the process. So we're not going to delete anything. Just in the My Content filter that you normally see when you open up any content list view, you can just select you want to see all past opportunities. So the idea being that you can have them as reference in the future. Yeah.
All right, another question over here.
Sorry, I might have missed this in the beginning, but what are the resources? Where are you getting all the funding opportunities?
So
Sorry, maybe I was just not listening, but what's the resources? Because it looks like it's
you were
not
listening perfectly. I didn't say that.
Good. Because I think it really differs where you come from.
Yeah.
Right?
So
it's useful.
at the moment we take the data where they are publicly available from funders' website, from different sources. But then of course we enrich the data. We make the data meeting some standards. From next year we are going to get data directly also from funders. Which means, which funders? We are working now in partnership, so I cannot. We won't be focused on a specific region. I cannot really. Patrick wants to add something. Yeah, that part was covered, but I'm happy to go back. So in terms of numbers, we have 15,000 of active opportunities from more than 4,000 funders. And in terms of awards, we have 3 million of awards. And in terms of coverage, this is the heat map, which represents the cover. So we have mainly US, Australia, New Zealand, so English-speaking countries. But this year we focus a lot also in Europe, and we are now discovering countries like China and Japan. So the idea is to have very global. We have also defined the roadmap for next year. And in that case, we are going to add content from Africa and Asia, which are the two continents which are not really well represented at the moment. We are going to add the top 2,000 funders which have been acknowledged in Scopus, and we are going to also extend the number of awards based on the dates, because now we cover awards from 2009 onwards, and we will cover awards from 1990 to up to date. And the collaboration with the funders, which will help to get data also when they are not publicly available. And
All
to
right,
be
thank you.
interconnecting, going back to the 5C.
All right. Any one final questions if anybody has anything? Thomas, you have the final comment.
I think if you have any questions at all, of course, please come speak to Eleonora. Eleonora really is a subject matter expert on the funding opportunities, but also the integration with funding institutional and pure. So
I will
please-
be here even tomorrow, and I'm happy also to demo directly the product, so we can play together to see if the data is well represented for your institution.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eleonora.
you.
Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you.